Don't throw me away like I'm trash. Clara Evans pleaded, her voice swallowed by the cavernous silence of their master suite. She knelt on the cold marble floor, her hands clutching the hem of a pair of $1,000 trousers, looking up at the man she had loved for 7 years. But to Marcus Thorne, a man who measured worth in heirs and legacy, a childless wife was less than nothing. That night he cast her out of his life with a final cruel command. By morning, I don't want to see you here. He thought this was the end of her story. He had no idea it was the beginning of his downfall. Before we uncover how this painful chapter unfolded, let's take a quiet moment together. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, we hope this story finds you well. We'd love for you to leave a comment and let us know which city or part of the world you're listening from. It creates a beautiful connection between us all. And if you believe in the power of stories that explore heartbreak, resilience, and the quiet strength of the human spirit, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Now let's begin. The storm that finally broke their 7-year marriage had been gathering for years, a low-pressure system of unspoken disappointments and mounting resentment. In the glittering, cutthroat world of Los Angeles, real estate Marcus Thorne was a king. His name was synonymous with power. His portfolio, a collection of skyscrapers that reshaped the city's skyline. He wore custom-tailored suits that cost more than most people's cars, and walked with an arrogant stride that suggested he found the very ground beneath him lacking. But behind the iron gates of his Beverly Hills mansion, a single silent failure gnawed at him daily: the empty nursery, the absence of an heir and a wife who could not provide one. Clara was the quiet grace in his bombastic life, a gentle soul with kind, almond-shaped eyes that had learned to carry the weight of sorrow. She had married him not for the Thorne empire, but for the ambitious, charming man she'd met when all he had was a blueprint and a dream. For 7 years, she had been his anchor, his soft place to land. But that devotion had curdled into a monthly ritual of hope and despair, each passing month another silent confirmation of their shared emptiness. That Tuesday evening, the air in the mansion was still and heavy, charged with the ozone of an impending storm. Clara sat perched on the edge of their king-sized bed, her hands twisted into a knot in her lap, bracing for the inevitable. Marcus entered like a tempest, his tie ripped loose, his face a thundercloud of irritation. The sharp clatter of his car keys hitting the marble dresser was the first crack of lightning. 7 years, Clara. His voice boomed, echoing off the high ceilings. 7 years of waiting, and for what? Nothing? Is the Thorne family name, the empire I've built, supposed to just evaporate when I'm gone? She looked up, her own voice a fragile whisper. Marcus, I've tried. We've tried everything the doctors suggested. It's out of my hands. Maybe there's another specialist in New York we could see. There might still be hope. Hope? He let out a bitter, barking laugh that held no humor. Is that the lie you tell yourself to get through the day? I'm done with hope. I'm done with my mother Eleanor calling me every day asking about a grandchild. I'm done with the whispers from my business partners at the club. Do you have any idea what it's like to be a man who has conquered this city, but can't manage the one thing any man is supposed to do? You're making me a public joke. Tears welled in her eyes, hot and stinging. Please don't talk like that. We made vows. For better or for worse, remember. Why are you treating me like I'm disposable? His voice escalated, laced with a chilling venom. Because that's what you are to me now. What good is a wife who cannot secure a legacy? You live in a house you didn't pay for, wear clothes you didn't buy, and drive cars you didn't earn yet. You can't provide the one thing that truly matters. You're not my wife, Clara. You're a liability. Don't call me that. She trembled, the words barely audible. I pray every single night. I cry myself to sleep. This isn't a joy for me, Marcus. My heart is breaking too. He turned his back on her, pacing the vast room like a predator in a cage. Save your tears. I'm finished waiting. You will not drag my life down any further. I'm calling my attorney tomorrow. This marriage is over. The word hit her like a physical blow. A divorce, she gasped. After everything. After I stood by you when you had nothing. After I moved across the country. Left my family for you. Have you forgotten who we were? He spun around, his eyes as hard and cold as diamonds. Love doesn't sign deals, and it doesn't produce heirs. My mother was right all along. I need a wife who can give me children, not one who fills my home with suffocating silence. By tomorrow, Clara, I want you out of my house. She fell to her knees, the sobs she'd been holding back finally breaking free. "Please, Marcus, no. Just give us more time. It could still happen for us." He recoiled from her touch as if she were diseased. "This isn't about us. You are the problem, and my patience has run out. You will leave. That is final." The argument was over. His judgment was absolute. The house staff in the hall had fallen silent. Clara's sobs were the only sound in the enormous room. She made one last, desperate attempt. "Marcus, look at me. Look at the woman who believed in you, who prayed for you. I gave you everything I had. Don't just throw me away like I'm trash." But his heart was sealed. He pulled out his phone, his thumb moving with cold precision as he dialed his lawyer right in front of her. "Mr. Davies, it's Marcus Thorne. Prepare the divorce papers." "Yes, immediately. She'll be gone by morning." Clara stared, paralyzed by the sheer, calculated cruelty. "You already called him. You planned this." He looked down at her, his expression devoid of any emotion but contempt. "You're a bad investment, Clara. I'm cutting my losses. If you have any dignity left, pack your things now. I don't want to see your face in the morning." Slowly, her body weak with shock, she rose. Her heart felt like it had been shattered into dust. She walked to the vast walk-in closet and pulled out a small suitcase, her hands shaking so violently she could barely grasp the zipper. Each designer dress she folded was a ghost. The blue silk from their first anniversary, the red gown from the charity gala, the simple sundress from a long-forgotten weekend in Santa Barbara. They were all tainted. Now memories turned to lies. As she packed the remnants of her life, Marcus stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with the detached air of a warden. Finally, with the small suitcase in hand, she turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "You will regret this, Marcus," she choked out. "One day you will understand the truth of what you've done." He didn't answer. He simply turned his head, dismissing her for the last time. With heavy steps, Clara walked out of the room. The echo of her shoes on the marble floor of the grand foyer sounded lonely and final. The house that had once felt like a home now felt like an opulent tomb. She passed the housekeeper, whose head was bowed, her eyes refusing to meet Clara's. She pushed open the grand, heavy front door, and the cool California night air felt like a slap. She paused on the threshold, taking one last look at the glittering cage she had occupied for 7 years. "I may be leaving with nothing," she whispered to the darkness, "but I will not be broken." And with that, Clara Evans stepped out into the night, her spirit vowing that this was not an end, but an agonizing, unforeseen beginning. She didn't know where she was going. She just walked a ghost in the pristine, palm-lined streets of Beverly Hills. The streetlights cast a sterile golden glow on the empty sidewalks. Her legs trembled, and fresh tears blurred the perfect lawns and gated mansions into a watery mirage. Marcus's words echoed in her mind. "You are a burden. I am freeing myself." She walked past designer boutiques, their windows displaying a life she was no longer a part of. No one looked at her twice. No one knew the woman with the small suitcase had just been evicted from her life. Her friend Maya Washington lived miles away in a small but vibrant Koreatown apartment. She was the only person Clara could think of. They had been college roommates, and though their worlds had become vastly different, their bond had remained. Clara knocked gently on the door, the sound barely audible over the city's hum. It was almost 10 p.m. Maya opened the door in pajamas, her cheerful expression melting into shock. "Clara." "Oh my God, what happened? Are you okay?" Clara couldn't speak. The dam of composure she had somehow maintained finally broke, and she collapsed into her friend's arms, breaking down into a fresh wave of sobs. "Come inside. Come inside," Maya urged, pulling her into the warmth of the small apartment and guiding her to a chair before closing the door. "Talk to me. Please, what happened?" "He threw me out." Clara whispered the words. "Ragged. Marcus." She nodded slowly, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "He said, 'I'm a liability.' He said, it's my fault we don't have children." Maya's face hardened with fury. "That man has no soul. After all these years, I bet he never even got tested himself, did he? The great Marcus Thorne is never the problem, right?" "Oh, Clara, you have suffered." Clara rested her head on Maya's shoulder, the exhaustion of the night finally overwhelming her. "I don't know where to go. I just have this one bag." Maya wrapped a comforting arm around her. "Don't you worry about that. You're staying here. This home is your home now." Clara closed her eyes, a single tear escaping. "Thank you, Maya." That night she couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying every cruel word, every cold glance. By morning, her pillow was soaked. The days that followed were a blur of grief. Clara stayed at Maya's, a shadow of her former self. She barely ate. She sat by the window watching a world that continued to spin without her. Maya tried everything. "Let's go to the farmer's market," she'd suggest. "Get some fresh air." "I don't want people to see me," Clara would whisper. "What if they ask about Marcus?" "You'll tell them the truth," Maya said fiercely. "That he's a fool who threw away a diamond." One evening, Maya sat down beside her, her expression serious. "Clara, we need to talk. Have you ever for yourself gotten a proper medical checkup, a full fertility screening?" Clara shook her head. "Marcus always said it was my issue. He refused to go himself. He said he was perfect. His mother, Eleanor, she said terrible things. They all blamed me." Maya stood up, her patience gone. "No, this ends now. We're going to a hospital tomorrow. We are getting you answers. You need to hear the truth from a real doctor, not from that arrogant monster." Clara, too tired to argue, simply nodded. The next day they went to Westwood Medical Center. Dr. Roberts, a kind-faced man in his 40s, listened patiently as Maya explained the situation. She was married for 7 years, no children. Her ex-husband blamed her, but she's never been professionally evaluated. "We want a full workup." Dr. Roberts nodded. "You did the right thing by coming here." The next few hours were a series of tests, blood work scans, hormones. With each procedure, Clara's anxiety grew. What if Marcus was right? 2 days later, they were back in the doctor's office. Clara's hands were clammy. Dr. Roberts entered holding a file and smiled. "Mrs. Evans," he began, "everything looks good. Your reproductive system is healthy. You're ovulating normally and your hormone levels are perfect. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you." Clara blinked. "Nothing." "Nothing," the doctor repeated kindly. "If there was no pregnancy for 7 years, the issue was almost certainly not with you. I would strongly advise your ex-husband to get himself checked." Clara covered her mouth as a sob of relief and vindication escaped. All this time, all the years of shame, of self-hatred, of believing she was broken. Maya leaped from her chair. "I knew it. I knew it. That man lied to you, Clara. He made you carry his own failure." Clara felt the world tilt on its axis. "So, I was never the problem." "You were never the problem," Dr. Roberts confirmed. "Don't let what happened steal your peace." Outside the hospital, Clara sat on a bench, the bustling LA traffic a distant roar. Her body trembled with the force of the truth. All those years she whispered to the sky. "I begged, I cried, I hated myself. And it wasn't me." Maya sat beside her, taking her hand. "He will pay for this, Clara. I swear one day he will look at you and wish he had never let you go." Clara looked up, and for the first time in a long time, the sadness in her eyes was replaced by a flicker of fire. "Maybe," she said softly, "this is the beginning of my healing." The weeks that followed were transformative. Clara started helping Maya at her small design studio. The fog of grief began to lift. She started cooking again first, just for them, then for friends. The simple act of creating something delicious and nourishing reminded her of who she was. One evening she told Maya, "I want to start something of my own. A food business." Maya's face lit up. "Yes, that's the spirit. Let's do it." They started small with a pop-up food stand at a weekend farmer's market selling gourmet comfort food. People started to know her not as the disgraced ex-wife of Marcus Thorne, but as the woman who made the best buttermilk fried chicken in the city. A glow returned to her face. She was slowly becoming free, but the past had a long shadow. One Sunday, Maya returned from brunch with news. "I saw Marcus's cousin. He's getting married. A flashy socialite from New York." Clara's heart gave a familiar pang. "He's planning the biggest wedding of the year." Maya continued, her voice laced with disgust. "He's inviting everyone, probably even some of your old friends, just to show off. He might even send you an invite just to mock you." Clara stirred the pot of chili on the stove, her movements slow and deliberate. "Let him do whatever he wants," she whispered. "I know who I am now." That night, lying in bed, her hand rested on her stomach, a gesture of old habit and new hope. She remembered the doctor's words, "You're healthy." A quiet prayer formed in her heart. "If my years of tears meant anything, please show the world that I was never the problem." And she closed her eyes, not with the familiar ache of pain, but with the faint, steady light of a small smile of peace. Clara Evans stood in front of her soul food truck one morning, wiping down the stainless steel counter. The street in downtown Los Angeles was already buzzing with life. Office workers rushed to their buildings, Uber drivers honked in traffic, and the city hummed with energy. She wore a simple dress under her apron, her hair tied back neatly. The savory aroma of her famous mac and cheese filled the air, and a small line was already forming. She smiled warmly at each customer serving up boxes of comfort food, but inside, a quiet war was still being waged. One part of her was moving on, but another still remembered the pain, still heard Marcus's voice, still recalled being called useless, broken and thrown out like trash. 2 lunch specials, please. A man's voice broke her thoughts. She turned. The man standing there was tall, with kind eyes and a calm face. He wore a crisp white shirt, tucked into neat trousers, and carried a sleek black laptop bag. He smiled gently, gesturing to the menu. "Your food smells too good to pass up," he said. Clara offered a small smile in return. "Thank you. Spicy fried chicken or regular spicy?" the man replied. "The spicier the better. I like my lunch to have a kick." That made Clara chuckle a little. She packed the 2 boxes and handed them over. He took the food and looked at her for a second. "You don't talk much," he said. Clara shrugged. "I just like to focus on the food." "That's fair," he smiled. "My name is Ethan, by the way. I work in the firm just down the road. I'll be coming back often. Your mac and cheese has already won me over." Clara gave a polite nod. "Thank you, sir." As he walked away, she didn't think much of it. Just another customer. But Ethan came back the next day and the day after that. Sometimes he ordered 2 meals, sometimes just 1. But each time he made a small joke or shared a short story. He never stayed too long, never forced a conversation. But Clara noticed he always made her smile. One afternoon he stayed a little longer. The lunch rush had quieted down. "Clara Evans," he said, reading her name from the small sign on the truck. "Do you ever rest? You've been here since morning." Clara wiped her hands on her apron. "I rest when I get home." Ethan frowned. "You shouldn't work this hard alone. Do you have any help?" "No," she replied, "but I'm used to it." There was a moment of silence. Then he spoke again. "Forgive me if I'm being too forward, but are you married?" Clara's heart skipped a beat. She looked away. "I was," she said quietly. Ethan nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up anything painful." Clara sighed. "It's not your fault." He stood quietly for a few seconds, then cleared his throat. "Well, just know you seem like someone with a good heart. A strong one, too. I admire that." Then he smiled, waved, and walked off. That night, Maya noticed something. "Who's the handsome guy that's always buying your food?" she asked, her eyes full of mischief. Clara shook her head. "He's just a customer." "Are you sure?" Maya smiled. "Because of the way he looks at you." Clara rolled her eyes. "Don't start." But Maya wasn't wrong. Over the next few weeks, Ethan didn't just come for lunch. He brought her things: gourmet coffee, fresh produce from the farmer's market, sometimes just a cold bottle of water. He said it was to support the business. And slowly, Clara started to talk more. She told him about her passion for cooking, how she learned from her grandmother, and how she used to dream of opening her own cafe. One afternoon, Ethan sat on a stool beside her truck. "Clara," he said, "forgive me again if I'm overstepping, but I see something special in you." Clara looked down, unsure of what to say. "I was married too," Ethan said. "Years ago, my wife passed away in a car accident. I haven't tried to love anyone since, until recently." Clara's eyes widened. "You remind me what peace looks like," he continued. "Not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet one that sits in your chest and makes you feel at home. I don't want to rush you. I just wanted you to know." Clara didn't reply for a long time. She looked at her hands, then at a container of cornbread, then at him. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," Ethan said gently, "but I'm not Marcus. I won't break your heart." It took months, but eventually Clara said yes to coffee, then to dinner, then to long walks along Santa Monica Pier on Sunday evenings. One day, as they sat under a tree in a quiet park, she looked at him and asked, "Why me? You could have chosen anyone." Ethan smiled. "Because you are the most real person I've ever met. You carry pain, but you still smile. You were broken, but you didn't stay down. That's the kind of woman I want by my side." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She reached for his hand and held it tightly. "Then I want to try too," she said. They were married 6 months later in a small, quiet ceremony at the Santa Barbara courthouse. No big cake, no live band, just a few close friends. Maya was the loudest one there, cheering like she'd just won the lottery. "I told you," she shouted. I told you good things would still come. Their new life was peaceful. Ethan was gentle with her. He made her laugh, listened to her stories, and helped her expand her food truck business into a popular catering service. Every morning before work, he'd kiss her forehead and say, "I love you, my queen." For the first time in years, Clara felt safe. And then the unexpected happened. One morning she woke up feeling strange. The smell of bacon made her sick. She brushed it off as a stomach bug. But when it continued for 2 weeks, Ethan said, "Let's go to the hospital." At the clinic, they ran tests. As she waited, she bit her nails. The nurse returned with a wide smile. "Congratulations, Mrs. Hayes," she said. "You're pregnant." Clara froze. "Pregnant?" "Yes." The nurse nodded. "About 3 weeks." Clara covered her mouth, tears of joy pouring from her eyes. Ethan jumped to his feet. "Pregnant? Are you serious?" The nurse laughed. "Very serious." He turned to Clara, pulled her up and hugged her tightly. "You're going to be a mother," he whispered. "We're going to be parents." The months that followed were full of excitement, but the biggest surprise came during her ultrasound. As the doctor moved the probe over her belly, his eyes widened. "Ma'am, there are 3 heartbeats." Clara sat up. 3? "Yes," the doctor said. "You're carrying triplets," she screamed. The whole hospital wing probably heard her. When they got home, Ethan knelt and cried. "This is more than I ever asked for." They prepared carefully. Ethan built a nursery. Maya helped shop for 3 of everything. And on a calm Saturday morning, Clara gave birth to 3 healthy boys, Leo, Max, and Sam. Tears flowed freely. The nurses clapped. The doctor smiled, and Ethan couldn't stop laughing. "They look like you," he said, holding one of the babies. Clara held all 3 to her chest, crying silently. "I'm not broken," she whispered. Word spread fast. Friends and neighbors came to see the miracle. Even some of Marcus's old acquaintances heard about it. She had triplets, they'd ask. The woman Marcus Thorne threw out. Yes, someone would reply. She even started a successful catering business. Her husband is a good, kind man. But Clara wasn't thinking about the past anymore. She was holding her sons. She was kissing Ethan. She was feeding her babies in the early hours of the morning, smiling at their tiny hands and soft cries. Her scars were still there, but her life had been reborn. She was a mother. She was whole. She was free. While Clara was learning to manage 3 babies miles away in his high-rise office, Marcus Thorne was spinning slowly in his leather chair, staring at his phone. His business had grown, but there was one thing that money couldn't buy. He was still childless. After divorcing Clara, he had dated a string of women, but none of them became pregnant. His mother, Eleanor, was relentless. "You're choosing models over family," she would say. "You were too impatient with Clara. Don't mention her name to me again," Marcus would snap. But late at night, his mind would wander. Where was she? Did she remarry? One morning, while scrolling through Instagram, he saw a picture that made him freeze. A photo of 3 identical baby bassinets. It was posted by Maya Washington. It couldn't be. No, just a coincidence, he told himself, but he couldn't shake the image. So he decided to drown it out with a new conquest. That week, his friend Ryan Carter called. "Man, there's someone you need to meet. Her name is Isabella Sterling. Just moved here from New York. Fashion designer, wealthy family, and she's looking for a serious man." "Fine," Marcus sighed. "Set it up." They met at a fancy restaurant in Beverly Hills. Isabella was exactly as described, tall, beautiful, and wearing a dress that looked like it came straight from a Paris runway. What caught Marcus's attention was her confidence. "So, you're the famous Marcus Thorne," she said with a small smile. The topic he forced was family. "I've been ready for children for a long time," he said. "I just haven't found the right woman." "You were married before, right?" Isabella asked. "Yes," Marcus said quickly. "But she couldn't have children. We tried for years." Isabella just nodded. "Well, I definitely want children. 2 or 3. Within a month, they were the city's new power couple. He showered her with gifts. One day, Isabella said, "Let's not waste time. If we're serious, let's get married." That night, Marcus called his event planner. The wedding was going to be the biggest event of the year. Red carpet, a Rolls Royce, a famous jazz band from New Orleans, guests flying in from Chicago and London. Marcus was obsessed with the spectacle, not just for love, but to prove a point. He wanted everyone, especially Clara, to see what he had now. One afternoon, going over the guest list, Marcus paused. "Add one more name," he said. He wrote it himself, Clara Evans. The planner raised her brow. "Your ex-wife, Marcus," just smiled coldly. Send her the invitation. First class. I want her there. Front row seat. Meanwhile, Isabella was getting worried. She had been trying to get pregnant for months. All the tests were negative. She hadn't told Marcus, but 2 weeks before the wedding she brought it up. "Marcus, have you ever thought about seeing a doctor?" she asked quietly. He frowned. "What for? A checkup," she said carefully. "Just to be sure everything is fine." Marcus stood up slowly. "So you think I'm the problem?" "No," she said quickly. "I'm just saying maybe we both get checked." His face turned cold. "You sound just like Clara," he said sharply, "blaming me, making me feel like I'm broken." He grabbed his shirt. "Let's not talk about this again. Ever." Isabella said nothing, but a new fear began to grow. Marcus continued the wedding plans. He told Ryan, "This wedding will shake the city. I want my ex to see what real success looks like." Ryan laughed. "So you're inviting her just to humiliate her?" Marcus smiled proudly. "She needs to see what she lost." But Ryan looked unsure. "Are you sure that's wise? What if?" "There is no what if," Marcus snapped. "She'll sit in that hall and watch my new bride walk down the aisle in diamonds. Let her choke on regret." Far away, Clara was bathing one of the triplets when her phone buzzed. Maya picked it up and froze. "Maya, what is it?" Clara asked, drying the baby's hair. "It's a wedding invitation." From who? Maya turned the phone. "Marcus." Clara stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She read the invite, then slowly placed it on the table. Maya was fuming. "What kind of insult is this? Is he insane?" But Clara just stood quietly, holding her baby close. Then she smiled, a calm, steady smile. "It's okay," she said softly. "Let him have his wedding." Maya frowned. "You're not going right." Clara looked at her sons, all three, sleeping peacefully. She didn't answer, but the way she walked to her room with quiet confidence said everything. Clara stood by the window of her small home, one hand gently rocking a baby in her arms, while the other held the wedding invitation. The gold-embossed envelope was thick and heavy, fit for royalty. The script was bold and loud. Marcus Thorne and Isabella Sterling, a royal union. She had read it 5 times. Each time it said the same thing: the date, the exclusive Malibu venue, the black-tie dress code, and then her name printed clearly on the guest list. Clara Evans. Front row seat. She lowered her eyes and took a deep breath. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shaking. But something inside her was rising slowly, like a fire warming cold stones. Maya walked in carrying a tray with 2 steaming mugs of tea. "I still don't understand why he sent this. Is he insane or just cruel?" Clara said nothing. Maya placed the mugs down. "Is he trying to humiliate you after everything he did?" Still no answer. Maya snapped. "Clara, talk to me. Why are you so calm? You should have torn that invitation into pieces and thrown it in the trash." Clara finally spoke, her voice even. "He wants me to feel small." Maya folded her arms. "Then let's ignore him. We will not give him that satisfaction." Clara turned slowly. "He wants me to come and cry in a corner while his bride walks in covered in diamonds with a smug smile on her lips. And we will not go," Maya said again firmly. Clara looked at her 3 sons, Leo, Max, and Sam, sleeping quietly on a playmat, their matching yellow onesies wrinkled from playtime. "But what if we show him the truth?" Maya's brow rose. "What truth?" Clara's voice was firm. "That I was never the problem. That the woman he thought was broken is whole." Maya was silent for a long moment. Then she sat down. "Wait, are you planning to go to the wedding?" Clara nodded. "With the boys?" Another nod. Maya's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she laughed, a loud, delighted sound. "Oh my God, that man will have a heart attack." "Clara, are you serious?" Clara smiled for the first time that day. "Very serious." The plan began that evening. Clara went to her closet and pulled out a long, elegant yellow gown she had kept for a special occasion. Maya had designed it for her months ago, but she had never worn it. Maya brought out her makeup kit. "If we're doing this, we're doing it right," Maya declared. "I don't want to look flashy," Clara said. "I want to look peaceful, but powerful." "Say less." Maya grinned. "You'll look like divine intervention." They ordered new outfits for the boys, matching yellow shorts and crisp white shirts with tiny bow ties. Maya called in a favor and booked a black Rolls-Royce Phantom. The car would arrive on the wedding day and wait down the street until Clara gave the signal. They practiced how the boys would hold her hands and walk beside her. "I'm not going there to start a fight," Clara reminded Maya as they folded the boys' clothes. I know, Maya said. But trust me, your presence alone will be a bombshell. The night before the wedding, Clara couldn't sleep. She sat by the window again, watching the stars. Ethan came and stood behind her, placing his hands on her shoulders. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, he said softly. I want to, she replied. Not to prove anything to him, but to remind myself that I survived. He kissed her cheek. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Clara turned to him. Thank you. You've given me what no man ever could. Peace. Ethan smiled. And you gave me back my joy. The morning of the wedding arrived. The entire city seemed to be buzzing. Social media was flooded with pictures. The hashtag #Dalang Thorn Sterling Wedding was trending. The venue was a magnificent estate in Malibu overlooking the Pacific Ocean. A long red carpet lined the entrance. Paparazzi flashes went off everywhere as guests in designer gowns and tuxedos arrived. Tech billionaires and Hollywood executives sat in the front rows. Inside, Isabella stood before a mirror in her hotel suite, her gown from a Milanese designer sparkling like it was spun from ice. Her best friend Jessica adjusted her veil. You look stunning. Marcus is going to fall in love all over again. Isabella smiled weakly. I hope so. But in her heart she still carried a cold knot of fear. No pregnancy, no answers, and a fiancé who refused to be tested. Marcus stood at the altar looking around the lavishly decorated hall. He wore a custom white tuxedo with gold embroidery, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He kept checking his watch. Ryan came to stand beside him. Why are you so restless? I'm waiting for someone, Marcus said. Who? He didn't answer. Then suddenly his eyes caught movement near the entrance. A black Rolls-Royce pulled up. The back door opened slowly. Out stepped Clara Evans. She wore the yellow gown like a queen, her face serene, her steps confident. And beside her, holding her hands, walked 3 small boys dressed like angels. The hall fell silent. People gasped. Phones came out. Who is that? Wait, is that his ex-wife? She has triplets. The whispers spread like wildfire. Marcus couldn't breathe. He grabbed Ryan's arm. Tell me I'm dreaming. Ryan blinked, stunned. Bro, she has children. Marcus stepped down from the altar, walking forward as if in a trance. Clara walked slowly, gracefully, holding her son's hands. Her eyes met his, but she didn't flinch. She smiled a soft, simple smile. The crowd parted as she walked to her seat, the front row, the seat Marcus had reserved for her. She sat down quietly. Her boys climbed onto her lap. Mommy, we made it, one whispered. She nodded and kissed their heads. Isabella entered the hall shortly after, her veil over her face. She noticed the strange silence, the shocked faces, and Marcus standing stiffly at the front, his eyes frozen. She reached the altar and whispered, What's going on? Marcus couldn't speak. The officiant cleared his throat. Shall we begin? But Marcus wasn't listening. His eyes were still on Clara, on the children, on the truth. Back in her seat, Maya, who had arrived separately, whispered, Do you want to leave now? Clara shook her head. No, we'll stay till the end. Her voice was calm. Her heart was calm. She wasn't here to destroy anything. She was here to be seen. The wedding hall had gone from a roaring celebration to a dead silent courtroom in minutes. The music, the flashes, the laughter all paused. Guests stared at the woman in yellow, who sat with the calm pride of a sunrise. On her lap and beside her were her sons, triplets boys with wide, curious eyes. At the front, the officiant coughed again. Shall we begin the ceremony? Marcus stood beside Isabella, but his mind was miles away. Isabella leaned closer, her voice soft but sharp. Who is that woman with those boys? Marcus blinked. That's Clara. Isabella's brows furrowed. Your ex-wife. He nodded slowly. And those children with her? He didn't answer. She turned to face him completely. Marcus, are those her children? The crowd's attention was now fixed on the couple at the altar. Marcus shifted on his feet, his mouth opening, but no words came out. Isabella's eyes widened. You told me she was infertile. I thought she was, Marcus stammered. Her voice rose slightly. You told me she couldn't give you a child. You said that's why you left her. I believed it, he said quietly. That's what the doctors... What doctors? She snapped. You never showed me any results. You never agreed to get tested yourself. Marcus rubbed his head, sweating under the lights. Isabella, please, can we talk after this? No, she said firmly. We will talk now because this entire hall is watching. She looked at the crowd. Is this your idea of a joke, Marcus? You invited your ex-wife to disgrace her and now she walks in with triplets. A loud murmur rippled through the guests. Lower your voice, Marcus pleaded. But Isabella stepped away from him, her face a mask of confusion and hurt. You lied to me, she said louder now. You lied to me just like you lied to her. Ryan came up quickly. Isabella, please, let's go outside for a minute. No, she said. I want answers right here. She looked straight at Clara. Ma'am, please, she called out. Forgive me for asking this, but are those boys your children? Clara stood up slowly, picking up the smallest boy and holding him in her arms. Yes, she said, her voice clear. They are my sons. The hall went silent again. She looked at Marcus, her eyes calm but powerful. You called me broken, Marcus. You threw me out and watched me cry. You said I was a liability. You made me believe I was less than a woman. People gasped. But I wasn't the problem, Clara continued. You never agreed to be tested. You said it was always me. But the truth came out. And I was blessed not with one child, but with 3. Marcus couldn't speak. His tongue felt like lead. Isabella turned to him slowly. So you lied. You ruined her. You dragged her name through the mud. And all this time, it was you. I didn't know he tried to defend himself. I didn't mean you didn't care, Isabella cut in. You just wanted someone to blame. She stepped away from the altar. I can't marry you, Marcus, she said, her voice shaking. Not today. Not ever. The crowd gasped. The officiant stepped back. The jazz band sat down. Isabella, please don't do this here, Marcus begged, reaching for her hand. She looked at him one last time. You aren't ready for love. You're still drowning in your pride. I deserve better. She dropped her bouquet on the stage and walked out of the hall, her bridesmaids rushing after her. The room erupted in whispers. So he's the one who's infertile. It was his fault all along, and he tried to humiliate her. Unbelievable. Marcus looked at the ground, his knees feeling weak. Clara turned and began walking out of the hall too, her boys following beside her. She didn't look back. She didn't gloat. She walked with the dignity of a queen, leaving a courtroom wrapped in truth. Maya met her at the door. Clara, you did it. You showed them. Clara shook her head. I didn't do it to prove anything. I just came to be seen. They stepped into the Rolls-Royce. The driver closed the door gently and the car pulled away. Inside, Clara held her boys close. Are you okay, Mommy? One of them asked. She smiled. Yes, baby. I'm more than okay. Back at the venue, Marcus sat alone on the edge of the stage. His custom tuxedo felt too big now. The joy and celebration turned to ash. Ryan walked up quietly. Bro, what now? Marcus didn't answer. He just sat there staring at the door. Clara had walked through the door. His bride had run through the door. His own lies had opened. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly, utterly alone. 1 month had passed since the wedding that never happened. The video clips were still viral. The headlines refused to die. Marcus was no longer the man people admired. His office was quieter. Partners had pulled out. His mother, Eleanor, came to see him one day, her eyes filled with regret. We were wrong, Marcus. I pushed you, and I will never forgive myself for that. He had gone to see Clara a week after the wedding. He found her at her small, happy home. He apologized, tears streaming down his face. He told her he had finally been tested, and the doctors confirmed it. He was the one with the fertility issue. I forgive you, Marcus. She had told him, her voice soft but firm. I don't hate you. I've moved on. He had left her house that day, feeling both crushed and strangely lighter. Now he sat at his desk, staring at a letter he'd written but hadn't sent. It was to Clara. Thank you for your strength, it said. Thank you for your forgiveness. You taught me a lesson I will never forget. I lost a good woman. I wish you peace. He finally folded it and put it in an envelope. Miles away in another part of town, peace flowed like water. Clara was in her kitchen preparing dinner. Her sons were watching cartoons while Ethan fixed a leaky faucet. Honey, Ethan called out, holding a wrench. Remind me again, where's the paprika? Clara smiled. Blue container, second shelf. He laughed. You've organized this kitchen like a science lab. There was peace in that home. It wasn't built with $1 billion fortune, but it was rich with joy. Later that night, as they ate, Leo, her oldest, suddenly said, Mommy, when we grow up, will we be famous like you? Clara laughed. Who said I'm famous? Everyone was shouting your name on the internet, Sam, the youngest, added. Clara looked at Ethan and smiled. You'll grow up knowing your story, she said. But more than that, you'll grow up knowing your worth. Ethan nodded, and knowing how strong your mother is. Far away, the man who had once broken her was finally learning what it meant to be alone. But the woman he had tried to destroy was whole again. She had found joy. She had found love. She had found purpose. And she had 3 little reminders that what others called broken life had turned into a beautiful overflow. Isn't it remarkable how life's greatest heartbreaks can sometimes become our most profound blessings? What feels like a closed door can be a redirection to a path we were always meant to walk. This journey teaches us that our worth is not defined by who leaves us, but by the character we build when we are left alone, and that the most beautiful chapters are often written long after the story we thought was over. Whether it's early morning with your first cup of coffee or late at night when the world is quiet, we'd love to know when this story found you. Leave a comment with the time of day where you are and your favorite moment of the journey. There's a special connection in knowing we're all sharing this experience together. For more stories that celebrate the strength of the human spirit, don't forget to subscribe. You're always welcome here.